Hello, inner shifters, how you doing? Your host, Sophia here. Let's dive into something powerful today, the way our thoughts actually shape our bodies. Not metaphorically, not in some abstract, feel-good way, but in a very real, biological, measurable way. The idea that what's going on in your head can change what's happening in your body isn't just philosophical, it's neuroscience. It's biochemistry. It's life-changing. And I want to talk to you about it not like a lecture, but like a friend who's seen how this connection transforms people, and who knows it can transform you too. I had a friend once, let's call him Marco, who went through a rough patch. He'd always been this vibrant, goofy, high-energy guy, but a few stressful life events piled up one after another. Family issues, job changes, some unresolved grief. The kind of stuff that wears on you slowly. And little by little, his posture changed. He was more withdrawn. He started to feel tired all the time. Digestion issues, insomnia, random aches and pains. His doctor ran every test imaginable, but nothing turned up. Physically, he was fine, but he didn't feel fine. Eventually, he saw a therapist who specialized in mind-body approaches, and here's the turning point. Once Marco started processing his emotional stress and shifting the way he thought about what was happening, his physical symptoms started to ease. Like noticeably. And that's when we both started digging into what science has been saying all along. The body reflects the mind. Every thought, belief, and emotional reaction is chemistry that your body has to metabolize. One of the most fascinating studies on this comes from Dr. Candace Pert, a neuroscientist who discovered that neuropeptides, the tiny molecules that carry emotion through the body, bind to receptors not just in the brain, but in the immune system, the gut, even the heart. She called emotions molecules of emotion because they literally exist in your biology. That means when you're stressed or anxious, your body feels it just as strongly as your brain does. It's all connected. Have you ever been so nervous you felt it in your stomach? That's not just a figure of speech. It's your enteric nervous system, the second brain in your gut, sending signals, responding to adrenaline, cortisol, all the biochemical signatures of your thoughts. Scientists at Johns Hopkins have studied this intensely, especially how stress and anxiety can disrupt digestion and immunity. That's right, your thoughts can make you sick if left unchecked. But the flip side, they can also make you well. Let's pause there for a second because that's really where the magic lives. When you start to truly, deeply believe that your thoughts aren't just background noise, they're influential forces shaping your biology, you take back a kind of power that most people don't even realize they have. And with that power comes the opportunity to change your health from the inside out. I knew another person, Alina, a beautiful soul. She used to get panic attacks so intense she thought she was having heart issues. Multiple ER visits, countless tests, but her heart was totally healthy. It turns out her panic stemmed from unprocessed trauma and relentless self-judgment. But once she started practicing mindful awareness, things like breathwork, journaling, and affirmations, not only did the panic stop, but her blood pressure regulated. She even started sleeping better. And when she went back for a follow-up, her cortisol levels had dropped significantly. That's not just mental relief. That's physiological transformation. The American Institute of Stress actually says up to 90% of doctors' visits are related to stress in some form. 90%. That's not to say illness is your fault, it's not. But it does mean your mind is a powerful co-pilot, and when it's filled with fear, pressure, or hopelessness, the body listens. Just as importantly, when it's filled with hope, joy, forgiveness, and peace, the body listens to that too. Your thoughts drive chemical messages, electrical pulses that become hormonal shifts. And over time, repeated stress can suppress immunity, increase inflammation, and contribute to conditions like heart disease, migraines, and digestive disorders. But here, the encouraging flip. Positive thoughts, hope, gratitude, belief release oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Those aren't just feel-good chemicals. They're healing agents. They lower blood pressure, strengthen immunity, ease pain. They build you back up. And this doesn't mean you have to be positive all the time. That's not realistic. It means you get to choose how to engage with your thoughts. You get to practice turning the dial. Shifting perspective, even slightly, can change your body's chemistry in real time. I love the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. He talks about how repeated thoughts become patterns, and those patterns become neurological programs that condition the body to live in the past. But when you break the pattern, when you think a new thought, feel a new emotion, you literally rewire your brains. Neuroplasticity isn't some abstract concept anymore. It's science's way of confirming that change is possible at any age, in any stage. Even just practicing gratitude every day has been shown in studies to lower inflammatory markers in the body. UCLA did a study that showed consistent gratitude practice rewired participants' brains to become more responsive to positive stimuli and less reactive to negative ones. And when that happens, the body shifts to less stress hormone, better sleep, fewer aches. I had a phase myself when I felt stuck in a loop. You know the kind, same anxious thoughts, same draining feelings, like you're stuck on a treadmill going nowhere. It was only when I started to get curious about my thoughts, instead of just reacting to them, that something shifted. I started asking, is this thought helping me or hurting me? And more importantly, what would it feel like to think something else? That tiny pause, that moment of awareness gave me space. And in that space, my body relaxed. My breath slowed. I wasn't cured of all problems, but I found something better, peace in the moment. You don't need to be perfect to feel that. You just need to give yourself permission to reframe how you relate to your mind. To realize your thoughts aren't just a reaction to life, they're part of your biology, and you can choose which ones you nurture. Sometimes it's as simple as breath. Just pausing for 30 seconds, breathing deeply into your belly, is enough to stimulate your vagus nerve, triggering your parasympathetic nervous system and instantly reducing stress. That's not spiritual fluff. That's physiology. That's your body responding to your choice to engage with the moment differently. So if you've ever felt like your body is betraying you or like your health is out of your control, I want you to know this. Your thoughts are not powerless. They're powerful messengers, shaping not just your mental state, but your physical reality. And every single time you choose a thought rooted in calm, trust, or self-compassion, you are helping your body heal. Let me leave you with this. There's no magic in trying to think your way to health overnight. But there is transformation in learning how to listen to yourself more kindly, more patiently. In recognizing that your body is always speaking your mind, and that by shifting the conversation, even just a little, you can change how you feel, how you move, how you live. Let's dive into this next one because it's fascinating and incredibly relevant to anyone who's ever had a gut feeling, literally. Today we're talking about the gut-brain relationship, and I promise you, it's not just a trendy wellness phrase. This is real, powerful, and backed by a growing mountain of science that says how you feel mentally is deeply tied to what's going on in your belly. And it starts with a nerve. Not just any nerve, the vagus nerve. This cranial nerve runs from your brainstem all the way down into your abdomen and acts like a bidirectional superhighway, constantly sending messages between your gut and your brain. You know those butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous? That's not just a poetic metaphor, that's your brain talking to your gut and your gut talking back. But here, where it gets really interesting, your gut houses about 95% of your body's serotonin. Yeah, that's the neurotransmitter we usually associate with happiness, mood regulation, sleep, and a general sense of well-being. So when your gut is off, when digestion is sluggish, when your microbiome is imbalanced, it doesn't just affect your stomach. It affects your mind. I had a friend named Clara who always thought her anxiety was just in her head. She tried everything, meditation, therapy, even medication, but something still felt off. What finally started changing things for her was working with a nutritionist who focused on gut health. With the help of probiotics, some dietary shifts, and a focus on anti-inflammatory foods, her mood started to stabilize. She told me I didn't realize how much of my anxiety was living in my gut. Her brain hadn't betrayed her, it just hadn't been getting the right messages. Studies from Harvard Medical School and the Cleveland Clinic support this completely. They've found strong links between gut health and mental health, suggesting that symptoms like depression, anxiety, and brain fog can often be traced back to an imbalanced gut microbiome. Researchers are even exploring how improving gut health could be a complementary treatment for mental health disorders in the future. And let's not forget how your thoughts affect your gut right back. Chronic stress can completely disrupt digestion, slowing gastric emptying, reducing stomach acid, and even altering the composition of your gut bacteria. That's why high stress doesn't just affect your mood, it can lead to constipation, bloating, or IBS-like symptoms, even when your diet hasn't changed. There's this amazing loop happening all the time between your gut and your brain. One influences the other constantly. The beautiful part is you can influence that loop. You can care for your gut to support your mental health, and you can tend to your mind to improve your digestion. It's a dance, not a dictatorship. Simple practices go a long way. Eating fermented foods like yogurt or kimchi, managing stress through breathwork or mindfulness, staying hydrated, getting quality sleep, each of these choices nudges the gut-brain relationship into harmony. And in that harmony, that's where real health lives. I knew a guy, Matteo, who used to get so stressed before presentations that he'd have to run to the bathroom multiple times. Once he started practicing deep breathing and visualization before high-pressure moments, his digestion settled. Why? Because those calming thoughts traveled down that vagus nerve and let his gut know we're okay. You don't need to panic. It still amazes me how immediate the change can be when you tune into that connection. So if you've been treating your mind and body as two separate things, I get it. That's how we were taught. But once you start seeing them as two halves of the same conversation, it changes the way you approach health. You don't try to fix your brain without caring for your gut. You don't treat digestive symptoms without checking in on stress or emotion. And here's the empowering part, your body isn't working against you. It's always been trying to communicate with you. The gut-brain connection isn't a glitch. It's a gift. A built-in feedback loop designed to help you heal, regulate, and thrive. How the simple act of moving your body changes not just your muscles or your lungs, but your entire perspective. Because yes, we know exercise helps physical health. But when it comes to mental clarity, emotional stability, resilience, and feeling like yourself again, movement is pure magic. So I want to tell you about my friend Eli. He went through a long stretch of burnout, not the dramatic, falling apart kind, but the quiet, creeping exhaustion where you wake up every day feeling foggy, aimless, and just off. He tried everything, journaling, changing his schedule, cutting back on work. But nothing helped until one day he took a walk, not for steps, not to burn calories, not even because he planned to. He just needed air. That walk changed everything. The rhythm of his steps, the open sky, the gentle hum of his breath, suddenly the fog lifted. Not all at once, but enough. He kept walking every day after that. And in a few weeks, his mind felt clearer. Ideas returned. Energy came back. Hope came back. That's the kind of mind-body magic I'm talking about. Movement creates momentum, not just in your body, but in your thoughts. And it's not just anecdotal, it's hard science. There's a wealth of research from Harvard, Stanford, and the Mayo Clinic that confirms it. Moving your body literally changes your brain chemistry. Physical activity releases endorphins, natural mood elevators that reduce pain and increase feelings of pleasure. It also boosts dopamine, which helps with focus, and serotonin, which enhances mood and promotes relaxation. These aren't vague wellness buzzwords. These are neurotransmitters. They're the chemical messengers of emotion, and every time you move, especially when you move intentionally, you're giving your brain the fuel it needs to feel better. Even more fascinating is how movement supports neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. A 2021 study from the University of California found that a single 20-minute session of moderate exercise increased neural connections in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making, concentration, and regulating emotions. That means movement doesn't just make you feel better now, it trains your brain to be more resilient for the future. And you don't have to run marathons or lift heavy to get this benefit. In fact, low-impact movement like yoga, Tai Chi, even walking, has been shown to dramatically reduce stress hormone levels like cortisol. I knew a woman named Sophia who struggled with racing thoughts and constant anxiety. She told me yoga looked too slow to be helpful, but after trying a few gentle flows, she was hooked. And it gave her mind space. She told me something I'll never forget: when I move slowly, my mind moves more kindly. And I think about that all the time because that's the connection we forget. The pace of your body can guide the pace of your thoughts. And let's not forget how powerful breath is within movement. When you coordinate your breath with motion, whether it's lifting weights, dancing, or stretching, your nervous system shifts from fight or flight into rest and digest mode. This activates the parasympathetic system, lowering your heart rate, reducing anxiety, and giving your brain the signal that it's safe. It tells your mind you're okay. You're here. Sometimes that's all it takes to come back to yourself. I had a friend, Marco, who started dancing in his living room every morning during a tough time in his life. He didn't follow a routine. He didn't aim to get fit. He just moved to music that made him feel alive. He told me it was the only thing that reminded me I'm not broken. And that kind of movement, that's healing. That's transformation. That's the body reminding the mind of its power. So if you've been feeling stuck, foggy, anxious, overwhelmed, start moving. Not with pressure, and not with rules, with curiosity, with care. Let your body become the doorway back to clarity. You don't have to be athletic. You don't have to have a plan. You just have to start. Because every time you move, your brain moves with you. Every time you stretch, walk, breathe, flow, you're sending a message to yourself: I am here. I am trying. I am healing. This one is deep. We're talking about how emotions are stored in the body, and I promise you, once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. Because the truth is, our bodies aren't just vessels for moving through the world, they are archives. They hold onto memories, tension, stories we haven't fully processed. And sometimes, when you're feeling stuck, blocked, or even physically unwell, it's not just stress. It's your nervous system still holding onto an emotional weight you never got the chance to release. I had a friend named Clara who used to get migraines and tight shoulders constantly. She stretched, got massages, changed pillows, nothing worked. But one day in therapy, she was doing some somatic, body-centered processing and started crying deeply, from a place she didn't even know she was carrying grief. That night, no headache. The knot in her shoulders gone. It wasn't magic. It was the body finally letting go of an emotion it had been holding for years. There's a beautiful field called psychoneuroimmunology. Try saying that 5 times fast, that studies how our thoughts and emotions affect the nervous system and immune response. And what it shows again and again is that chronic, unexpressed emotions can turn into physical symptoms. It's not just metaphorical when we say someone carries the weight of the world on their shoulders, or that we get a gut feeling. The tension, the nausea, the back pain, sometimes it's not just physical, it's emotional history imprinted on muscle memory. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in his groundbreaking book The Body Keeps the Score, writes about how trauma lives in the body long after the mind has tried to move on. And while not all emotional storage comes from big trauma, even smaller unresolved experiences, shame from childhood, heartbreaks we never really felt all the way through, words we swallowed to stay safe, can settle into our bodies as muscle tension, fatigue, or disconnection. I knew a guy named Mateo who carried tension in his jaw for years. He thought it was just a teeth-grinding habit until, in a breathwork session, he suddenly remembered a moment from when he was a kid, being yelled at and feeling like he wasn't allowed to speak. His body had learned to literally clamp down his truth to feel safe. Once he started opening up emotionally and working through that, the jaw pain began to ease. That's not just healing, that's freedom. And this doesn't mean your pain isn't valid or that emotions cause everything, of course not. Physical health is complex and multi-layered. But we can't ignore the emotional components. A 2020 study published in Frontiers in Psychology found that patients who engaged in emotional processing and somatic awareness had significantly reduced chronic pain symptoms, even without medical intervention. That's wild. That's hope. So what can you do with this? You begin by listening. Instead of suppressing every emotional wave, you get curious. Where do I feel this in my body? What's this tension saying? If it had a voice, what would it say? Sometimes you'll just notice. Other times you'll cry, yawn, shake, because that's what release looks like. Emotion isn't weakness, it's motion. Energy that was meant to move through you, not get trapped inside. I had a friend, Sophia, another Sophia, not me, who started doing somatic stretching in the mornings, not yoga, not exercise, just slow, intuitive movement while tuning into how her body felt. Over time, she said, it's like I'm finally having a conversation with myself I didn't know I needed. That's the power of body-based healing. It doesn't require words. It just asks for presence. And we live in a world that rushes, that demands we keep it together, that doesn't always leave space to feel. But every time you pause, breathe deeply, stretch gently, let a tear fall, laugh fully, you give your body permission to reset. To heal. To finally put down what it's been quietly carrying for years. So today, I invite you to listen to your body not just as a machine, but as a messenger. A witness. They partner. It remembers the parts of you that the mind forgot. And when you listen with kindness, with curiosity, with love, that's when release comes. That's when healing begins. I thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and do all those lovely things you wonderful people do. I'll see you next time.